I'm pleased to say we're joined by the ITV pundit and commentator Chris Mason. Thanks for the time again, Chris. How are you doing?
Pleasure, pal. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It certainly has. We were just talking about it off there. Lots to catch up on since we last had you on the show, but we'll just touch on this upcoming weekend. It is the UK Open down in Minehead, which kicks off on Friday. And the last time we had you on the show, you said it was your favourite ITV tournament. So, how much are you looking forward to getting back to Minehead again in just a few days' time?
Yeah, it's fabulous. Well, I'm off down there tomorrow. Actually, always go down the day before, just because it's a bit of a trek to get there. So I just like to get down, settled in, and do a final bit of prep. But yeah, I love the tournament. It's great. It always provides some stories along the line. You get the chance to see players that you won't normally see, and the fans get to be up close and personal with some of their favourite players, which is something that they don't really get anymore, or certainly anywhere else.
Yes, a special tournament. And we mentioned before we hit the record button that the last time we had you on the show was right before the UK Open in 2023. And you even brought up then that we had something a little bit special in the recently turned 16-year-old Luke Littler, one of the Riley's qualifiers, who was going to open up ITV's coverage on the main stage against Nick Fulwell. As we mentioned before we started, Luke's done pretty well in the 3 years since then. But for you, when did you first come across the name of Luke Littler, and when did you think this young man is going to go right to the top?
Um, Probably first seen him play when he was about 10 or 11, I would have thought. I knew of him a little bit before that. Um, but it really sort of in and around that time. And then from then on, he started to win sort of big senior titles, like ranking titles within what was then, I suppose, the BDO and then the WDF. And just sort of just tracking his numbers. And I thought, my goodness, this either someone's sort of got an imagination or this kid's unbelievable. And then I just literally just started to follow him, and then of course we had the opportunity to have him down at the Motor Super Series, and the rest is history really. Once I seen him there, and he was just so composed, had a great temperament, good fun, loved to entertain. There was literally no reason why I didn't think he could go on and achieve what he did. You know, I tipped him up to at least make the quarterfinals on debut at the Worlds, which everyone thought was a little bit bonkers. And I said the only reason I think he may get stopped in the quarters is because he runs into one of Anderson of Price. But of course, Brendan Dolan dealt with them, didn't he? And then went on to make the final. And in all honesty, if he hits double two, probably goes on to win on debut. So yeah, the rest of it has just been a roller coaster for him. He's played fabulously, and for a young man, still only 18. I did an interview recently. I said, you know, there's no reason why he can't go on and win the Worlds again this year. And then he joins a really unique club of just two others in Eric and Phil. But to win 3 out of 4 would be incredible, and 3 on the spin would, well, I just think he can do it. I think at the moment everyone's sort of the topics of or the discussions are, you know, is he really not that interested in anything else? He's just not like a normal dart player. He doesn't spend hours preparing. He'll have like 10 minutes, and then sometimes he can go on stage and get caught a little cold, which has happened in the Premier League. But that's a not unique thing. I think he's played 36 Premier that he doesn't win Premier League nights. I don't think the format is particularly great. And as I say in every tournament that starts with a relatively short race, you know, the best of 11s, if you don't get him then, I don't think you get him at all.
No, that's fair enough. And we'll come back to the UK Open later, where Luke Littler is going to be the defending champion. But we'll talk about some of your other work in the commentary box. And just last Friday, you were on comms for the first night of the JDC Junior Power League. I caught a few bits of the stream on YouTube, and I've got to say, I thought it was a brilliant production. Great for the youngsters to play in something like that. You were obviously there in person for it. So talk to us about the night from your perspective.
Yeah, I got asked to do the first one last year, and it was in Coventry in in a place they used to use for the JDC, but Steve Brown and all the team there have ended up getting hold of our very our own county venue from the West of England days, and he's done an incredible job. It's without doubt the best darting facility I have ever been to. It is just incredible, and it's all for the kids. You know, it gives them a great platform. And again, we're fast tracking these young players. There wasn't that emphasis years ago on youth darts, where now they're playing under the lights. They're getting the commentary. They can learn so much more about their own game. And by the time they get round to wanting to go to Q school and they're making debuts here, where and everywhere, they're going to be ready. I think over the next 10 years or so, I think we're going to see a huge change. I mean, there's already been a shift, but I think after the Littner effect in possibly sort of 10 or so years' time, I think it's just going to be just a conveyor belt, you know, one after another coming through. We've already seen it with Mitchell Laurie, who hit a 9-darter in the JDC Advanced Tour on the Sunday morning. But yeah, it's a great privilege, something I'd love to do, because it gives me a bit of insight and a bit of foresight into what's coming next, and I'll have a bit of a leg up on everybody else, because I've already seen them and assessed them, and you know, get to talk to them and sort of just discuss, you know, any little issues they may have within their game, or any little things I think that could add to their ability and performance. But yeah, it's an honour to be asked, and I love every minute of it. It's great fun and humbling.
Yeah, exciting times ahead, and you're also still a key part of talkSPORT's coverage for the big PDC events as well, including the World Championship, and we've seen their involvement and coverage of darts continues to grow as well. You were at Ali Pali over Christmas and New Year for the first ever 128 player World Championship. I was there for one day as a guest, and I was shattered by the end of the day just being there watching. So how did you find covering the tournament from start to finish?
Yeah, I did every session, and I was also doing Beat the Pro in the fans village. So I was doing that for an hour and a half every day, and I was also doing the hospitality. So, but by the end of it, I was absolutely out on my feet. It was exhausting, like really exhausting. And of course, you can only do your research for 64 matches, because you don't know who's going to win. So having to do that as well on the fly was pretty taxing, but it was an amazing event. I thought it maybe diluted a little bit, but no, it was incredible. Again, it just produced so many stories and so many great moments. Yeah, and just when you think maybe, you know, the game's peaked, something else comes along, or another story comes along, and you're going to see growth now, especially in Africa, of David Munya. Yeah, I thought that was absolutely a remarkable story, and that prize money he won, he can literally buy a family home. So it, you know, we hear these stories about life-changing money, certainly for him. What a moment. And we had like royalty from his country there, and all the ambassadors from London, and the impact it made in South Africa was huge. So again, I expect to see more players from that part of the world fairly soon.
Definitely. And you mentioned the prize money. I was going to touch on that as well, because at the end of the tournament, we saw Luke Littler become the first £1 million world champion. And I was looking back at your first world championship, which was 30 years ago this year. You were at the Lakeside in 1996, going up against the late Andy Fordham, and you took home £2,000 for being in the last 32. Whereas the 64 first round losers at Ali Pali banked £15,000. Did you ever think the prize money would get as big as it is now?
Yeah, I think, listen, when we all started, people seem to think I'm sort of a bit sour about it. I speak about it a lot because it's an incredible achievement, but we all laid the foundation. You know, we were the ones doing the silly walk-ons and doing the little dart skits to try and, you know, and creating drama to just to try and get some eyes on our sport. So every one of us, everybody I speak to now that was sort of from my era and just before it, we couldn't be happier to see the players getting rewarded, because they deserve to. It's a huge sport. It's a huge sport now, that's for sure. and they're reaping the rewards, and that's listen, that's perfect for me. I love it. I joke about it. It's not a you know, I'm very lucky. I'm still in the game. You know, and the more money in the game, and the game as the game gets even bigger, I get more work. So yeah, I'm really happy either way. You know, I'm again privileged to still be involved, and you know, privileged to be part of its, well, not of its growth, but be involved in a sport that's growing at a ridiculous rate. You know, we're in the big room now in New York, Madison Square Garden. I think they sold 6,000 tickets in 3 hours or something. So, yeah, it's the next challenge for them is to make it genuinely a global sport where, you know, there's academies and there's tours everywhere, so we can, you know, we can really sort of see the impact of darts right now, and how it is growing. Like I said, in the tickets in New York are absolutely flying out. So they're getting there. Whatever they're doing right anyway.
Yeah, they're on the right track. And you mentioned about your continued involvement in darts. Obviously, a big part of that is your work with ITV, and this year the PDC and Matchroom have taken over the broadcast for that. It meant we said goodbye to a few of your colleagues on screen and behind the microphone who have been involved for a lot of years, the likes of John Rawling, Alan Moore and a little, Ned Bolting, Jackie Oatley, who did a brilliant job presenting the darts. How sad was it to say goodbye to people that you've worked with for what, 10, 15, maybe 20 years?
Yeah, nearly 20 years. So I sort of seen people who were runners at ITV who are now directors. And that at the end of it, I did say that they're sort of they were colleagues that became close friends. So it was, yeah, it was hard. It was hard because it was one of those things you thought, well, the only way it will sort of stop is when I've had enough. So yeah, it was sad. It was it was pretty grim on the Sunday night when we wrapped up and we went back to the hotel, where normally we'd be sort of all celebrating another tournament and talking about who won it and why. So it was pretty solemn. But fortunately, that, you know, like I said, they become friends. So we all still keep in touch. We got a little WhatsApp group where, yeah, they're not very nice to me. Yeah, I've been called some names. If you think about what coal miners went through, it's something similar. But it's all in good jest, and they're all pleased for me that, you know, I sort of was basically not necessarily kept on, but offered an opportunity with new producers, new directors, which was really exciting. A lot of the stuff that I wanted to do while at ITV, we're now doing under the uh, under the Matchroom banner, because they're now producing it. Still a fair few familiar faces that were sort of freelance, sort of cameramen and sound and stuff like that. So still plenty of familiar faces, but everyone's got new ideas, and you know, we were planning for the UK Open probably as long ago as a month ago, with sort of people coming up with ideas and how do we want it to come across? What do you think people want to see? So all things like that. It's much more involved than I was at ITV in terms of how I think the production should look, and everyone's got a hand in it. Everyone's given a voice and says, right, let's sit down. What do you want to see? What do you think of that? And we spend hours and hours and hours just going over ideas. 99 of them go in the bin. One of them will stick, and one of them was having the interactive screen that Dan did at the Masters, which I thought the Masters was brilliant. I thought it was so refreshing. I thought it was creative. I thought it was slick. But of course, people don't like change. So even though a lot of people used to say ITV was crap, now that there's something better, that's crap as well. And ITV was the best thing since sliced bread. It's a bit like Lou Dog and the nonsense he gets. I can remember when Johnny Mack took over from Phil Jones, and well, it was outrage. And now, of course, I'm rightly so, Johnny Mack, one of the best in the business, and you know, he's left some big boots to fill. And listen, Lewis is Lewis is 100% committed to it, and I think he's getting better and better. But as you know, people don't like change, so we've got to put up with that nonsense. It's either what you're saying, what you're wearing, what you look like, or who's doing that and why they're doing this, or it's too much waffle, or. But like I say, if you just tuned into a program and a match was finished, wouldn't you be disappointed if someone didn't tell you what happened in it? If you've just got home from work,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
we're there to give information. The gap between the semi-final and the final, we have no control over because the PDC stipulate the players have got to have 20 minutes because you can't just come off stage after being in an absolute thriller and then go straight back on. The players are given, as soon as that last dart goes in, they've got 20 minutes to prepare for the final. So what do you want us to do? Put some old footage in that time, and everyone else, I don't want to see that again. So you can't keep all the people happy all of the time. It's it's fairly thankless, but the people I care about like it, so that's all that matters. The people who pay me.
Yeah, that's the most important people to please, and we'll come on to those new
Correct.
ideas for the coverage in a moment. But we did see the new ITV team at the World Masters, and for the first time, you and Wayne Mardle working together as pundits and commentators. I'm sure there's a few of our listeners who thought we might never see you two working on the same broadcast, myself included. It's always been Mardle at Sky, Mason at ITV. So, what was it like
Yeah.
working with Wayne for the first time?
Yeah, brilliant. Listen. I've known Wayne since he was 17. And we've always worked together, like in exhibitions and personal appearances and stuff like that. And we've had our back and forths, but that's our personalities, that's our characters. So yeah, we knew it was happening a long time ago. So yeah, we loved it, and commentating with him was brilliant because we couldn't be more different. And I wasn't sure whether it would work, but the feedback was very, very positive from like I say, those within the industry and other people who work in the sport. They thought it worked brilliantly, and again, so did our directors and producers. So and so did we. We absolutely had a hoot. So I'm looking forward to doing more with him down at Minehead for the UK Open. I think we're scheduled in to do match 3 or 4 Friday afternoon. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I think we're doing Bo Greaves' game, so I'm looking forward to that one anyway.
No, we look forward to that. And you mentioned that the coverage for the World Masters, it was well received on social media, and it, like you said, it felt very fresh with some new faces involved. And looking ahead to this weekend, the UK Open, we had the presenter Pete Graves on the show, and he was excited to be involved for this event in particular, covering the multi-board aspect of it. You did touch on it earlier. Some ideas have been floating around. Is there anything we can expect as viewers that's maybe going to be a little bit different for the coverage?
Yeah, a lot. It's going to be a lot different. It's going to be a lot more interactive. That's for sure. We've got Glenn Durrant as well. He's taking part in his first one with the new team. We've got a new presenter that's going to be looking after stage 2, and we're going to do a lot more with the players who win in the multi-board room. So we're going to see a lot more and try and tell a few more stories. That's the thing. There is so many players at the UK Open. It's hard to get everybody on, but we want to. It is very much it's a story. The UK Open. It's like the FA Cup. It has that kind of vibe to it. So you need a backstory of who potentially might get through. So you've got to interview as many people as you can and just get a bit of a backstory on them. It's a bit like Aidan Kirk. He's qualified again, and Aidan Kirk on debut, of course, beat Phil Taylor and Peter Wright. And that was on his debut. He'd never been on TV before, qualified for the UK Open, and goes up there and does that. And I remember Barry, the bin man, Barry Lynn, made the semi-finals. Yeah, so it's just we're just going to try and give people as much, tell as many stories as we can. I suppose that's what I'm trying to say. It will have a totally different look to whatever's been done before, and again, I think it's refreshing. They put their own stamp on it, their own style. I don't think another broadcaster can sort of replicate what we're doing. So it's going to be interesting to see what Sky do, because they'll want to up their game, which is great for dart fans, isn't it? It's great for sport fans that competition is great. I own a pub. I love it when other pubs are busy. Why are they busy? This competition's great for everybody. So yeah, it's exciting. I can't wait to get down there and see what else they have in store and what they're gonna get us doing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to watching it. Always one of our favourites. And just one more for me before we get to a couple of questions that have been sent in. And my co-host on this show, Burton Dewitt, he was very complimentary about your work as a commentator. We met up in Vegas a few months ago, and he said that you're one of the commentators who's evolved with the times, the more analytical side of the game. So how much research time behind the scenes have you put into, I guess, stay in touch with the modern game?
Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I'd like to think as we've got more information, Dart Connect hasn't been around that long, but you think of the difference that had for every Dart fan. So all I listen, that's my style. It's a game of numbers. Some people, oh, here we go again, more stats, more numbers, but it's played on a board with numbers on it. It's a game of numbers, and I like to look for patterns. I like to if I say to you, I think he's going to win, why? It's not just going, oh, I've got a hunch, or I seen some. Sorry, it's the toilet door. At least it sounds real. Yeah, and I just, I didn't see, I didn't see something relating to Littler on the back of a bus and think, oh, Littler's going to win. Like you pick your horses out. I like to tell you why and why I think this is going to happen. And I have enough data that sort of tells me, or there could be patterns, or and I like to use a specific sample size. And I spoke to Burton many times about numbers, and because he's a rather smart chap. And he pointed me in the right direction for a lot of stats based content. So yeah, I just think Wayne does his bit, I do my bit, Glenn does his bit. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different take and a different style. I don't like to shout and scream and jump up and down. I'm just, I'm a darts fan, and I just track it differently, I suppose.
Well, it's worked well so far. And our listener questions that we've got before we let you go, the first one comes from another of our colleagues on the show, Matthew Keane, and he says, if ITV or the Darts Show, for example, ever pitched a feature to you where you go to a UK Open amateur qualifier and try and qualify, would you do it? It would really bring alive the amateur qualification element, which can sometimes be overlooked on the broadcast.
Yeah, I think if we'd have had more time, it's maybe something that we would have done for this one. But you know what it's like. Things move so quickly, and yeah, I just don't think there was a bit of time. But I was doing the dart show, the PDC dart show yesterday, and one of the guys there sort of put it to me and said, "Well, would I be interested?" And I was sort of like, yeah, but I had to go a few years ago, and it didn't. I think I lost in the semi-final. Which annoyed me a tad. But I'm actually playing okay at the moment. I'm playing quite a lot of darts, back playing a bit of Super League, got talked into playing a bit of county, play a bit of league darts in the pub with the lads. But the problem is I then have 2 weeks where I'm just flat out with work, and I won't even look at a dartboard in terms of throwing a dart out. So it'd have to be something I plan. But yeah, I think it's something that will happen. Actually, I think people are interested in it because we talk about the qualifiers all the time. And now there's two different types of qualifiers. I think it'd be great to cover both of them. Maybe, I don't know, get Wayne to do one and me to do the other. And yeah, I think it would be great content. Great content.
Definitely. Well, watch this space on that one. The next one comes from Warren Allsworth, who says, Chris, you are a popular addition to the World Seniors events and were due to become an ambassador for it. How disappointed were you that the World Seniors events were cancelled, and do you see them ever returning?
Yeah, I was gutted because it was something I was really looking forward to being involved in. I was going to start to do some commentary and sort of work behind the scenes as well, and to sort of use my sort of broadcast knowledge and what I've learned and try and implement that into the seniors. But it just wasn't a sustainable business model, and if it don't make money, it don't make sense if you're a businessman. And they literally poured their art and their financial souls into that project, and they just couldn't secure a broadcaster. Maybe it was a bit ahead of its time, and there's not. I know Sky put in a chunk of money, but in terms of non-subscription television, free-to-air stuff, there's not a lot of budget about at the moment because the numbers aren't there commercially in terms of eyes on the prize. So, listen, things go in full circles. I expect it to return, and hopefully not in the too distant future, because they are screaming out for content. It's just how you finance it. And unfortunately, just didn't work out for him this time. But it wasn't from the lack of trying. Jason Francis, of course, still massively involved in the senior snooker and the other snooker that they do on Pluto. So he's still got his finger in the pies, and he may come up with a broadcaster that wants to buy the seniors darts and the senior snooker, and on the back of that, we might get the seniors darts back. I certainly hope so. I think there's a place for it. I don't think there's a place for a seniors tour, because I ain't got the time or the energy to be, and if you said to Steve Beaton or Simon Whitlock, who've come off the tour, to go on to another one, that's not why you sort of semi-retire. But yeah, I expect it to come back at some point.
Well, fingers crossed for that. And the last one comes from Ajit Vasani. This is going back a few years. He said, "Did Taylor buy you a drink after his 9-dart? I was there that night, but missed it as I was at the bar."
Wounded. Yeah, well, we used to have we still got it. It's called the Princess Diana Suite, and the Stan James, the then sponsor, had that full of champagne and beers and everything you could imagine. So after the match, we just all piled in there. I don't think we left till about 2 a.m. Actually, I think we drunk and drive. But yeah, it was a great moment. It's brilliant to be part of. Even though it sort of obviously didn't go in my back pocket, but it was a part of history, and it's something that probably I get asked about more than anything. Is the Taylor 9-dart, and that was a match I averaged 100 in and got absolutely stuffed. And they say we were rubbish back then. And it didn't matter what you did when Taylor was around. He seemed to have an answer for everything. But great moment. Absolutely loved it.
Good times. Well, Chris, always a pleasure to get you on the show. Appreciate you taking out the time, and we wish you and the team all the best for the weekend.
And good luck with the show.
Good man. Thanks very much for the time.
Take care, pal.